Hello gamers and friends, I believe some of you have questions about the 5 animations at the end of each chapter in the game Black Myth Wukong, so today I come with references to answer them all today. It's a long video, so here's a brief timestamp for your convenience. A more detailed timestamp is available in the video description box. So I see a lot of gamers have trouble understanding the animations mainly from chapter 1, chapter 4, and especially chapter 5. They really left many things unexplained in chapter 5 animation. To understand chapter 5, you either have to read the book Journey to the West / watch media adaptations of the book, or you have to be Chinese, like me, grew up doing that. I will be using some original text from the book and some visual aids from the 1986 TV adaptations to explain. So without further ado, let's jump into the first ending animation. In the first animation, I see a lot of gamers are confused by the monk's identity and the plot of the story. Actually, you have seen and fought the monk in chapter 1. He is Elder Jinchi, the gold one, and this animation is about how Elder Jinchi was destroyed by his greed. The opening of this animation tells the story of how Elder Jinchi met Black Bear Guai. A young boy, who later became Elder Jinchi, came across Black Bear Guai in a desolate forest filled with some corpses. Black Bear Guai did not attack Jinchi. Instead, he offered Jinchi a bag full of gold coins and jewels. As Jinchi later went to study Buddhism, he was attracted by the kasayas from other elders. Although he wanted to dedicate himself to Buddhism, the greed in his heart continued to grow and took over him. The shadow of Black Bear Guai became a metaphor for the greed within Jinchi. As he grew older and climbed his way to the highest position of power, Elder Jinchi's kasayas grew increasingly lavish. He constantly used his authority to amass more and more extravagant kasayas. One day, Wukong and his team passed by the Guanyin temple and asked to stay for the night. At this point in Elder Jinchi's life, it seemed that he had gotten rid of his greed as his kasaya was in a plain color. That evening, the team showed Elder Jinchi's Tang Sanzang's kasaya. Elder Jinchi was captivated by it and asked Tang Sanzang if he could borrow the kasaya for the night to admire it, promising to return it the next morning. In the book, Elder Jinchi became friends with Black Bear Guai, and he learned the secrets to extending his lifespan from Black Bear Guai. He was able to live for 270 years and had about 700 to 800 kasayas. Yet still, he could not let go of his obsession with gorgeous kasayas. That night, as he admired the kasaya, his greed rekindled like fire and it devoured him. Elder Jinchi desperately wanted to keep the kasaya to himself forever, so his 2 disciples, Guangzhi and Guangmo, made a plan to kill the pilgrimage team. In the end, they decided to set fire to the Guanyin temple. When Wukong heard some noise while sleeping at night, he woke up and saw monks setting the temple on fire. He then went to the celestial palace to borrow the fireproof mantle to protect his master and his brothers, and let the temple burn to the ground. During the night of fire, Black Bear Guai stole Tang Sanzang's kasaya. To retrieve the kasaya, Wukong sought help from Bodhisattva Guanyin, who not only assisted him, but also managed to convert Black Bear Guai to become an island-guarding deity for her Potaraka island. She also gave a headband to Black Bear Guai, so this scene right here is in the story of Journey to the West. Let's move on to the second ending animation. The second animation is easy to understand, though I see a lot of gamers are confused by the animal and saying it is a dog. It's not a dog, it's not a wolf, it's a fox. In Chinese mythology, dogs and wolves are not that prominent, but foxes are. The most famous dog is the one Erlang has. So next time, if you see an animal that looks like a dog or a wolf, and it can turn into a beautiful woman, or it is involved in love affairs, that's a fox. In Chinese mythology, fox Yao Guai, also called Hu Li Jing, are often depicted as being able to transform into beautiful women to seduce or deceive people. For example, 9-tailed fox. However, Hu Li Jing can also take on the form of man, though this is rarely mentioned in stories. The message of this animation is that good and evil are separated by one single thought. A scholar saved an injured fox out of the kindness in his heart. At night, he had a dream. In the dream, the fox turned into a woman, and they started dating and had a family. Many years later, They even had grandkids, but the fox one day reverted back to its Yaoguai form and slaughtered his entire family. Although he knew it was just a nightmare when he woke up, the fear lingered, so he decided to kill the fox and kept it as a scarf. And that was the evilness in his heart. If you think about it, he could have just let the fox go. At the very end of this animation, there's a different message that Bodhisattva Lingji left for Wukong. He said,
Men, beasts, Buddhas, Yaoguais. Each of them bears a distinct root from birth, superior and inferior. None should disturb what's decided. Am I right, Sun Wukong?
This is strange, because in Buddhism, everyone is created equally. Bodhisattva Lingji said that to remind Wukong to stay in his own lane, and reminded Wukong that he is a Yaoguai and he is inferior to gods and Buddhas. This message is tied to the main theme of Black Myth Wukong, which is the gods and Buddhas do not have trust in Yaoguais like Wukong, even though he has done good deeds and was made a Buddha once. They only saw Wukong and his kind as inferior creatures. Let's move on to the third ending animation. The third animation is about human nature. Yellowbrow and Jin Chanzi, aka Golden Cicala, which also is the former incarnation of Tang Sanzang, made a bet on human nature. Yellowbrow believes humans are inherently evil, and Jin Chanzi disagrees. Yellowbrow and Jin Chanzi are disciples of two Buddhas. Yellowbrow is the disciple of Bodhisattva Maitreya, and Jin Chanzi is the second disciple of Tathagata Buddha. This also stays true to the book with one exception. Yellowbrow and Jin Chanzi do not know each other. But in the game, they are depicted as Dharma brothers as they both study Buddhism, and they often place bets and argue about their ideologies. To prove his point, Yellowbrow transformed himself into a soft-shell turtle and came to the mortal realm. Actually, I don't know what this creature is. The closest thing that I can think of is a soft-shell turtle. This turtle has many special abilities. For example, when he cuts open his body, the wound does not bleed, but instead reveals gold and jewels. His nails can cure illness, and his mucus can make people beautiful. He can even make fish rain from the sky, and people no longer have to put in effort to gain results. At the beginning of this animation, you can see that people in this poor fishing village originally worshipped Buddha. However, over time, they began to worship the turtle, replacing all the Buddha statues with the turtle statues. They even built a temple for the turtle and started to worship it. Notably, in the initial temple, there was a couplet that read, 何负众生受大苦，今入长乐无为处. It means, enduring great sufferings in carrying sentient beings, he now has entered a state of eternal bliss independent of conditions. This couplet is from Buddha pronounces the Sutra of Maitreya Bodhisattva's attainment of Buddhahood, and it is Maitreya Buddha's praise to Sakyamuni Buddha. There are actually a couple more lines before that. It goes, the great guiding teacher, enduring adversity and fiercely valiant, was able to teach, convert, and bring evil sentient beings to maturity in the unwholesome world of the five turbidities, enabling them to train themselves to see the next Buddha. Enduring great sufferings in carrying sentient beings, he now has entered a state of eternal bliss independent of conditions. From understanding the true meaning of this couplet, now you know how Yellowbrow twisted its original meaning and turned it into his own belief. He thought of suffering merely at the surface level and provided bliss to people without teaching, converting, and bringing them to maturity. From then on, more and more people came to worship the turtle, and the temple kept expanding. Even the architectural decorations featured the turtle's head. Among the worshippers were government officials and monks. It's quite ironic for monks to worship this turtle because this turtle is temptation itself. And to be a monk, you have to quell all your temptations. Supposedly, the quality of life in this fishing village should have improved, but you can tell it hasn't by looking at the villagers' clothing that they remained just as poor as before. One night, the villagers came to worship the turtle, and the government officials set up fences around it to maintain order. The officials played the role of collecting jewels from the turtle and distributing them to the people. The government officials were always the ones who controlled any unexpected treasure and only share a tiny bit to the people. In the crowd, there was a man who was deeply attracted to these jewels. There was a mysterious force gave him a little pull forward, and, following his inner impulse, he continued walking up to the turtle and cut it open with a knife. I think Yellowbrow gave him that pull. As he took the first step to rob treasures, this action stirred up the crowd, and people rushed forward to snatch treasures from the turtle, like ants swarming over the carcass of a snake, or fish devouring a dead dog. The monks in the crowd closed their eyes and chanted scriptures to stay away from temptations, but their hands were secretly picking up jewels from the ground. The mob violently dismembered the turtle, treating it like fish being gutted open on a barbecue grill. Some people even urinated on the turtle, showing blatant disrespect for the deity they once revered. People also unleashed their most suppressed desires, such as monks displaying lustful behavior towards women. In the scene, one monk has 8 burn marks on his head, indicating his high status as an abbot. Abbot is a position of authority in a temple or monastery. Those burn marks, also called 戒疤 in Chinese pinyin, turn out to be a practice unique to Chinese Buddhism. I only found out about this while editing this video because I had assumed that all monks who study Buddhism could earn these burn marks. However, despite his high status, the abbot could not quell his mortal desires. At the end of the animation, we see a man walking towards the turtle. That is Jin Chanzi. From their dialogue, we can tell that they have a bet on human nature, and Yellow Brow exposed people to great temptations without guiding them, just for the sake of winning this bet of proving humans are evil. Just like Jin Chanzi said,
"You chose a means to an end, not to a proof. You sow chaos in hearts just for the sake of winning. How absurd and pathetic."
Let's move on to the 4th ending animation. The 4th animation is about Bajie's love story. I see a lot of gamers are confused by Bajie's transformation from a human into a pig. I will explain the animation first, then I will tell you how the game differs from the book. The game developers changed Bajie's backstory a lot. The first scene of this animation shows us that Bajie used to be a celestial member of the Celestial Palace. In the book, Bajie was made a field marshal in charge of the Milky Way, commanding all the sailors on that river in the sky. So this scene in the game appears to be on the same page as the book. Bajie saw a silver-haired celestial maiden on a bridge, and immediately he was captivated by her beauty. So he went and chased after her. On his way, he bumped into a violet god celestial maiden. He helped her up and kept on running. Soon after, he found the silver-haired celestial maiden, and she was on a secret date with another god. They didn't like their secret being exposed, so they banished Bajie into the mortal realm and into a pig form. I see some gamers are confused by these two ladies' identities. When you look at Bajie's character journal, you will know that both of them are Chang'es, and the silver-haired celestial maiden is the lead dancer of all those Chang'es. Some people said that she is Taiyin Xingjun, which is the goddess of the moon. She is not. Also, one more thing. These two Chang'es are not the same as the one who flew up to the moon and we celebrate her tale with Mid-Autumn Festival. No, they come from 2 separate mythology systems. One is from the Journey to the West mythology system, and one from Chinese ancient mythology. Or we call it 上古神话. So in Journey to the West mythology system, Chang'e is just a title, not a name. Let's go back to Bajie's story. Then in the next scene, Bajie is shown as a grown adult man who woke up from his dream or memories. He was in a village called Old Gao Village, and he saw a young woman called Gao Cuilan. As he chased after her, he slowly turned into a pig. After Gao Cuilan saw his true form, she was terrified. In this scene, they're actually married, but it is not revealed until the end of this animation. We'll get into that, but let's move forward. Bajie went to a water tank and looked at his reflection. He discovered that he had changed from a human back into a pig. Here, there's a time jump in the animation, skipping over the part where Bajie joined Wukong's pilgrimage team. The next scene shows Bajie and his team arriving at the Webbed Hollow. At the Webbed Hollow, he saw 7 spiders bathing, and his lustful nature was aroused. He then transformed into a fish to sneak a peek, and the one he swam up to happened to be the celestial maiden in a violet gauze whom he had accidentally bumped into back in the day. Violet Spider and Bajie recognized each other the moment they locked eyes. Bajie then revealed his ugliest form in front of Violet Spider, as if to say, "I've become this ugly. Can you still accept me?" In response, Violet Spider shredded her human form and transformed it back into her spider form. After they revealed their true forms to each other, they embraced and had a romantic affair. The following animation sequences chronologically depicted Violet Spider's story of voluntarily descending to the mortal realm after learning Bajie had been banished there. Meanwhile, Bajie's story was told in reverse, starting from the moment he met Violet Spider and recalling his days as Phil Marshall Tampon. In Bajie's sequences, some scenes are a bit out of order. If we rearrange his scenes in chronological order, we would see that the part where he was born as a pig came after his wedding scenes. Maybe the game developers are trying to depict something here, but I cannot figure it out. After being banished, Bajie was reincarnated mistakenly as a pig. He was born in the pig pen. This aligned with the book. According to the novel and the 1986 TV adaptations, he later married Gao Cuilan in Old Gao Village. And in the 1986 TV show, at their wedding, Bajie was drunk and reverted back to his pig form. And this is where we get this scene in this animation that Bajie looks half pig, half human. At the end of this animation, Bajie woke up from a dream. A dream within a dream. This is the part after he destroyed the webbed hollow, spared only Violet Spider's life, and went back to the boys for their pilgrimage mission. He had a job to do, so despite his dismays, he had to leave Violet Spider behind. About Bajie, I have one thing to say. The book version of Bajie is much more disgusting than Bajie from any media adaptations. I'm gonna let you do some readings about Bajie. His first appearance as a pig, I'm telling you, the book, Journey to the West, is not a happy-go-lucky adventure story. Man, I'm telling you, the book Journey to the West is not a happy-go-lucky adventure story. All media adaptations of the book are made to be family-friendly, but the book is not. It's dark, because it is a work of satire and it is meant to mock the Chinese bureaucracy back in the Tang Dynasty and many other things. Let's move on to the 5th animation. Chapter 5 animation tells the story of Wukong, focusing on his family and his bond with his sworn brother Wukong. The animation opens by introducing us to Wukong's 5th relic. This relic contains a 2-headed pig, which is recorded in Shanhai Jing, and it is called Bing Feng. However, the book does not explain its symbolism, so you can interpret it as Wukong's body after death is like a pig on a chopping board, unable to move or resist, completely at the mercy of others. This sets the stage for Erlang's dialogue about distributing Wukong's relics. In the next scene, the animation shows the defeated Wukong after the battle with the Celestial Court. This scene connects with the initial animation of the game, depicting Wukong's final moments after the battle. From this animation, we see that it wasn't only the Celestial Court fighting Wukong. Bull King and others like Black Bear Guai, 100-eyed Taoist Master, and other final bosses in each game chapter were also fighting Wukong. Bull King, after witnessing the defeated Wukong, caught Wukong as he was about to fall. Wukong told Bull King that Bull King had made all the wrong choices in his life, prompting Bull King to reminisce about his past. The first memory of Bull King was the crash of the Celestial Palace with Wukong in their rebellious youth, which ultimately ended in failure. This was his first wrong choice. He chose to side with Wukong and go against the Celestial Court, a decision that would mark the beginning of his miserable life. The next scene shifts to a conversation between the defeated Bull King and his wife Rakshasi, aka Princess Iron Fan. That's the widely known name in the Chinese community. Rakshasi mentioned that she was forced to drain the water from the river of childbearing to conceive a child. Although she didn't say who these people were in this animation, there was a boss fight in Chapter 5 that revealed to us that it was her master who forced her to give birth to the last bloodline of the Yaksha clan.
Our master bade this child be born, but he never knew my struggles.
How can we but follow the Master's word? Rakshasi, you know it was he who made you drink from the river of childbearing.
Shut it. You shall never speak of it.
But why Rakshasi? Well, in chapter 59 of the book, we learn that Rakshasi, the name itself, is a type of creature called Rakshasi. The female form of Rakshasa is Rakshasi, and Yakshas are their cousins. That's my guess as to why Rakshasi's master chose her to bear a Yaksha child. Also, who is her master? From Rakshasi's character journal, we learn her master lives in Tusita Palace, and the owner of this palace is Taishang Laojun. This also explains the birth of Red Boy. From Yaksha King's character journal, we know that there were two people who came to speak with the dying Yaksha King, and one of them was in a white Taoist robe. The one in the white Taoist robe is the keeper of the Flaming Mountains, and the other person is Taishang Laojun. From the game's dialogues,
When the boy comes of age, well, on that day, he will be living proof of the dark deeds of Mount Lingshan.
and the Yaksha King's character journal, we learn that Buddhas of Mount Lingshan had once massacred the Yaksha clan. In order to keep the Yaksha's last bloodline, Taishang Laojun and the keeper of the Flaming Mountains offer help to the Yaksha king to keep his son's life. The keeper extracted the red lotus from the dead son's head, which was the child's soul. To ensure the successful reincarnation of this child, three things were needed: the red lotus, the Yaksha king's life, and the water from the river of childbearing. Red Boy was born with vague memories of his past life, which would surface in his dreams. But why would Taishang Laojun from the Celestial Palace want to help the Yaksha clan? The reason is dark, which is the Celestial Palace wants to keep Red Boy as genocide evidence against Mount Lingshan. If you're confused by what Mount Lingshan is, basically there are two kinds of gods in Journey to the West: the gods who lived in the Celestial Palace and the Buddhas who lived on Mount Lingshan. From cutscenes and journals, we can see that Celestial Palace wants to counterbalance the power of Mount Lingshan and possibly use Red Boy to take revenge on Mount Lingshan. The next scene shifts to Red Boy accusing Bull King of being a lapdog for Mount Lingshan after he learned that Bull King knew who he was and what Mount Lingshan did from the start. So Red Boy asked Bull King for Wukong's relic to avenge his Yaksha clan. However, Bull King did not hand it over because he didn't want his family to face further retribution. I will explain how Bulldog became a lapdog shortly. The next scene shifts back to Rakshasi expressing her willingness to hand over the Iron Fan to avoid any more troubles from Wukong. In this scene, Wukong and his team had already arrived at the Flaming Mountains, seeking to borrow the fan from Rakshasi to extinguish the fire in the mountains. But Bull King refused to lend the fan due to his deep resentments towards Wukong for the damage Wukong had inflicted on his family. This will be explained in the next scene. The next scene shifts to Bull King's memory of Wukong and his team trying to borrow the fan, and Wukong said,
Your brother, I've disciplined. Your boy, I've given away. Your wife's fan, today, I'll take it with me too.
This is why Bull King hated Wukong and refused to lend the fan. On the surface, Wukong's words seemed like he was humiliating Bull King. However, the true meaning behind Wukong's words was to subtly hint to Bull King that for Yaoguais like them, who had committed offenses, the only way to live a peaceful life was to submit to the higher forces and follow their commands. Here, Wukong was presenting Bull King for another choice.
Find a master and serve the right. It's the only path left for the likes of us. Don't you understand, brother?
Either live according to what Wukong suggested, or continue down the same old path Bull King had been on. However, Bull King could not get the true message within the message. The stories between Wukong and the two family members of Bull King's family, Red Boy and Bull King's younger brother, were only briefly mentioned in one line. The game developers left out the story is probably because the stories are too long to put in the animation. Let me finish explaining this animation, then I would go back to tell you the stories of Wukong's encounter with Red Boy and Bull King's younger brother. I saw quite a lot of gamers thought that Wukong and Bajie appeared to be the bad guys here. But that's just not true. I'm telling you, Red Boy and Bull King's younger brother deserve to get their asses whooped. I'll tell you in a bit, but let's get back to the animation. Bajie said to Bull King that he killed Bull King's concubine with a rake, and Bull King was enraged by Bajie's words, causing him to revert to his original form as a giant white bull. Unable to endure further humiliation, Bull King made the wrong choice to ignore Wukong's survival suggestion, and decided to fight Wukong and the Celestial Court. FYI, in the scene where Wukong and Bajie spoke, they had already called in reinforcements from the Celestial Court to fight against Bull King. When Bull King refused to lend the fan and block the path of Wukong's team that the god of Buddha learned of it and sent a note to Jade Emperor. Jade Emperor then dispatched reinforcement for Wukong, including Li Jing, Ne Zha, and many celestial soldiers to subdue Bulking. From this, you can see how much the celestial court and Mount Lingshan value the pilgrimage team, and indirectly indicating that this journey is under strict surveillance. After Bulking went crazy, everyone fought him at once, and it was Ne Zha who gave the final fatal blow by decapitating Bulking. Some gamers may ask, why didn't Bulking die after being decapitated? Also, why does he have a head after being decapitated? Well, that's because Bulking is as powerful as Wukong, and Yao Guais of their levels are not easily killed. In the book, Ne Zha decapitated Bulking like 10 times, but each time Bulking's head would grow back immediately. And this is why in the game, Bulking is not walking around headless like Bodhisattva Lingjing. Now let's talk about how Bulking became a lapdog for Mount Lingshan. In the book, after being defeated by Ne Zha, Bulking wanted to save his life, so he begged for mercy and said he was willing to convert to Buddhism and hand over the fan. This connects to the animation scene where Red Boy insulted Bulking for being a lapdog for Mount Lingshan. This Flaming Mountains battle with Wukong was a mix of old and new grudges for Bulking, as he had come to deeply resent Wukong. The Celestial Courts exploited this hatred and successfully turned Bulking to their side. This connects to the beginning of this animation where Bulking and other Yao Guais fought Wukong. Sadly, once again, Bulking had made the wrong choice by siding with the Celestial Courts. The Bulking's recollection of his past ended here, and it was only now that he realized the meaning behind Wukong's words.
Never have you made a good choice.
And finally understood that the conversation Wukong had with him at the Flaming Mountains was actually meant to protect Bulking and his family. It was a wrong choice to side with the Celestial Court, because even if Bulking helped them by killing Wukong to earn merits, he still couldn't atone for his offenses because the Celestial Court would not let that go. Just like what Wukong said.
The way I saw it, with enough merit and a position before the Buddha, they would leave me be, and all of you as well. Now I see, for someone like me, staying alive is enough to be a transgression.
Wukong's journey to retrieve the scriptures was a journey of atonement. Throughout his journey, everything he did was beyond his control. He could not do what he wanted. Even after becoming a Buddha, he still had no freedom. The ban was always on his head. This is the end of Chapter 5 animation explanation, and now let's get back into the stories of how Wukong's encounter with Red Boy and Bulking's younger brother that I mentioned earlier. Wukong and his team met Red Boy first, then they met Bulking's younger brother. A few years prior to Wukong's pilgrimage team's arrival at the Flaming Mountains, Red Boy had been waiting for them in the mountains near the Wuji Kingdom because he wanted to capture Tang Sanzang and eat his flesh. It was believed that just a small piece of Tang Sanzang's flesh could grant longevity. When the team met Red Boy, he captured Tang Sanzang, and of course, Wukong had to fight him. Long story short, Wukong eventually asked Bodhisattva Guan Yin to subdue Red Boy. Guan Yin was accompanied by Mu Zha, who also helped fight Red Boy. When Red Boy couldn't win, he begged for mercy and promised to convert to Buddhism. After saying this, Guan Yin spared him. However, right after that, Red Boy used his spear to stab Guan Yin in the face. Guan Yin was pissed by this. She then took out a golden band, turned it into 5 bands, and put them on Red Boy. 2 on the arms, 2 on the legs, and 1 on the neck. Then Guan Yin chanted a spell, causing Red Boy so much pain that he rolled on the ground, and eventually subdued him. Here's a side note. Guan Yin has 3 types of band. The golden band, the tightening band, and the prohibition band. Fun fact, they have the same pronunciation in Chinese. Jingu, just with different tones. So that would be Jingu, Jingu, Jingu. The charm of Chinese, y'all. The second family member of Bulking that Wukong's team encountered on their journey to the Flaming Mountains was Bulking's younger brother, 如意真仙. In the English version of the book, he is called As You Will Immortal. They met him in Women's Kingdom. Tang Sanzang and Bajie drank from the river of childbearing while passing through the kingdom, which resulted in them becoming pregnant. Ah yes, the same river that Rakshasi drank in the game. And yes, men can also get pregnant by drinking from that river. The team decided to find the only miscarriage spring in the kingdom because drinking from that spring water was the only solution to terminate the pregnancy. However, the spring had been taken over by 如意真仙, and he demanded offerings from anyone who came to drink from the spring. He also wanted to fight Wukong because he heard Wukong had beaten up his nephew. Long story short, Wukong beat his ass and got the water. Now do you understand why I said Red Boy and Bull King's younger brother, 如意真仙, deserved to get their asses whooped? Because they do. Do you remember the two-headed pig in the beginning of this animation? Well, personally, I think there's another interpretation to it. So based on Chapter 5 animation, I speculate that this pig represents Wukong's inner identity. Wukong is like Bull King, who was once a rebellious free spirit, boldly challenging authorities. However, to protect his sworn brothers and free himself, he chose to go on to the journey to the west to seek redemption. In the eyes of others, including Bull King, this seemed like Wukong betrayed Bull King and the likes of them by becoming a lapdog for the celestial court they once opposed. Wukong's identity was split into two, the one who he truly is and the one who he has to be. Both heads of the pig want to move forward, but they end up reaching nowhere, just like Wukong's status after becoming a Buddha. He did not get his freedom, nor the protection for his sworn brothers. If you feel sad about Bull King's tragic backstory in the game, then let me tell you some facts about Bull King and his family in the book. I promise it will lighten the mood up. His story isn't as miserable as in the game. Remember, the game developers took some creative liberties with his storyline. Fact number 1. Bull King did not crash the Celestial Palace with Wukong. It was just Wukong. Fact number 2. No one forced Rakshasi to drink from the river of childbearing, and Red Boy is not the last bloodline of the Yaksha clan. Fact number 3. Mount Lingshan did not wage war against the Yaksha clan. Fact number 4. Rakshasi is not the disciple of Taishang Laojun, nor is she related as a senior-junior disciple with the Keeper of the Flaming Mountains. Fact number 5. Bull King does not have a daughter. Fact number 6. Bajie did not tell Bull King face to face that he killed Bull King's concubine. In the book, Bajie actually killed her, but he only mentioned it to Wukong, and meanwhile, Bull King was too busy fighting in the battle to hear this news. I hope these facts can help you feel better about Bull King and his family. That's the end of this video. If you like this video or you find it helpful, please give me a like because I really put a lot of time into making this video, and I hope you enjoy the game and enjoy this video. I will also make a video explaining the 2 endings in the game soon. For now, I'm gonna peace out.